Super Soul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the cause of the cosmic manifestation, appeared in the dynasty of Gandhi. Please tell me elaborately about his glorious activities and character from the beginning to the end of his life. In this verse, the words Kritavan Yani indicate that all the different activities Krishna performed while present on earth are beneficial to human society. If religionists, philosophers, and people in general simply hear the activities of Krishna, they will be liberated. We have described several times that there are two kinds of Krishna Katha, represented by Bhagavad Gita, spoken personally by Krishna about himself, and Srimad Bhagavatam, spoken by Shukadeva Goswami about the glories of Krishna. Anyone who becomes even slightly interested in Krishna Katha is liberated. Kirtanadeva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Vrajat. Simply by chanting or repeating Krishna Katha, one is liberated from the contamination of Kali Yuga. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore advised, Yare de Kathare Kaha Krishna Upadesh. This is the mission of Krishna consciousness, to hear about Krishna and thus be liberated from material bondage.
Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Kadati Swapadantigam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Karijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhamritam Cha Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishvanusude Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
7 small books, Srila Prabhupada's lectures that were published in those early days. Until about 10 years later that I went to Delhi yearning to see this form of Krishna captured my heart. And it was a different Krishna. It was also supremely beautiful. But still, this Krishna affects us. So where is the Krishna I saw there? And then sometime later I came to Bhaktivedanta Manor, and there he was. And then I understood that this Krishna was at the Pandava program in Delhi. So it was Krishna from Delhi, but he came from Vrindavan to Vrindavan to Jaipur to Delhi, and then to Bhaktivedanta. And I remember in 1976, our dear godbrother Kula Shekhar, who was one of the first devotees in Europe to come to Krishna consciousness. He was at Vrindavan, and he said to Srila Prabhupada that you have always said that Radha Gokulananda are the most beautiful deities in the world. Kula Shekhar said, but I'm thinking now that I'm living here that Radha Vrindavan and Chandra are the most beautiful. Can you tell me what you think? Would you like to know what Prabhupada said? It's kind of an incredible description. Srila Prabhupada said they're both most beautiful. Krishna reveals himself according to his own sweet will. So Janmastami, Krishna appeared in this world approximately 5,000 years ago. And in his personal transcendental form, Shri Radha Gokulananda, he appeared in the London area 39 years ago. Krishna tells in Gita, Jani Paramachya Naitika, Evam Yogadita, Tyapradeham Punarajana Naiti Mameti Suja. The one who understands the transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance and activities when he descends into this world, that person, by Krishna's grace, never takes birth again within this material creation. Krishna says that devotee will attain my abode. In the Gita, Krishna tells the reasons why he descends. Paritrānaya sādhanam vināṣaya chatuskratam dharma samstappanādaya sambhavami juge juge. That the Lord descends to reestablish the principles of religion, to protect the pious, and to annihilate the miscreants. Srila Prabhupada explains that Krishna can perform those activities through the doings of material nature. Mayadhyakshara prakriti suyate satchigatana, his controlling nature. Through his empowered devotees, through his expansions. But Krishna especially comes to this world in his original transcendental form, once in a day of Brahma. 12 hours of the daytime of Brahma is over 3 billion years. And then there's the night, actually 4 billion years. So it's about once every 8 billion years that Krishna personally appears in his original transcendental form. And at that time, the Lord appears, Prabhupada explains, especially to perform such beautiful pastimes, to reveal the intimacy of the love between Krishna and his devotees, to reveal his transcendental form in such ways to attract hearts. Krishna's all attractive. Lord Chaitanya has taught us Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Satya Kapurvai Saravanadi Sudhijiti Kodiye Udai. That love for Krishna is within the heart of every living being. It is our dormant nature. It has simply been forgotten. And Krishna performs such beautiful pastimes. His birth, his activities, his devotees. And Krishna is not different than the transcendental sound vibration of these pastimes. Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Krishna is one and the same with Krishna's name, with Krishna's form, with Krishna's pastimes, with Krishna's teachings. And simply by hearing, we are actually in association with Krishna and the devotees of Krishna. There was a story in 1966 where Srila Prabhupada took the devotees from 26th Avenue to the Anand Ashram. And there, Prabhupada was giving classes, leading kirtans, and at night, Hayagriva Prabhu, very early disciples of Srila Prabhupada, he was sleeping in a field. Because it's a beautiful countryside. And he had a dream. And he told Srila Prabhupada the next morning, with great excitement, what this dream was. He said, I saw Krishna speaking Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna in Kurukshetra. And then the dream changed, and I saw you instructing me. And he said, and the realization I got in this dream that there was no difference in the knowledge in you speaking to me and Krishna speaking to Arjuna. And Srila Prabhupada smiled and said, that is correct. Very good dream. Of course, Srila Prabhupada didn't say that they were Krishna and Arjuna. But he explained that that message, whenever it is repeated and heard, the same effect is there. Because it is transcendental sound vibration. Evam param param prapta. when this message of Krishna's teachings and Krishna's pastimes are spoken without speculation or adulteration through parampara, it is Krishna speaking. There was another famous story where Srila Prabhupada was reading the Krishna book. And the devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, do you like to read your own books? And Srila Prabhupada said, I did not write this. Krishna wrote it. It's Krishna's words. So as we advance in Krishna consciousness, this is the experience we have. When we chant the holy names, we feel, we know, we realize that we are directly in the association of Krishna. When we hear Krishna's Bhagavad Gita, or when we hear the beautiful stories of Krishna with his devotees in Srimad Bhagavatam, we realize we are part of the pastime. We are there. We are on the chariot with Arjuna, hearing Krishna speak directly. When we see the beautiful form of Krishna in Sri Radhika in the temple, we can realize that this is Krishna and Srimati Radharani who have appeared to attract our hearts. Srila Prabhupada explains in this purport how there are two types of Krishna Gita. Those words spoken by Krishna, like the Bhagavad Gita, and those words spoken about Krishna, like that of Shukadeva Goswami and Srimad Bhagavatam. In both cases, we connect with Krishna. The setting of how this narration takes place in Srimad Bhagavatam is most instructive. Similar to Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, he was in a very serious crisis in his life. It's not that he just happily went to the guitar and said, Krishna isn't speaking. On the chariot, Krishna was silent. Arjuna saw on both sides of him friends, relatives. And being a devotee of the Lord, he felt such affection for all of them. There were teachers on both sides who he owed everything he had to. All of a sudden, it was impossible for him to fight. And he began to reason in so many ways why this fight should not happen. And if it does, he would not participate. And then he was struggling. What is my dharma? And eventually, he was in such distress and confusion in the face of this very, very crucial historical battle. Please try to put yourself in his chariot seat for a moment. He was torn. He was about to use all of his God-given strength to devastate the opposing army. And he felt love for them. The bow fell from his hands. He was weeping. He lost all his composure. He didn't know who he was or what he was supposed to do or what not to do. And then he prayed to Krishna. I'm your disciple. Please instruct me. And then Krishna smiled and spoke. And here we find in the Srimad Bhagavatam Parikshit Maharaj, he was cursed to die in 7 days. He was the emperor of the entire world with such power. And how humbling this is. It was a little boy, just a tiny little boy who cursed him. He left his family, his kingdom, his power, his comforts. He vowed to fast till death just to hear about Krishna. He went to the river Ganga, a place called Shukatam. Still today, there's a beautiful banyan tree where it is said, Parikshit sat. And all great sages and rishis came from all over the world and the universe to be with him. Because they could consider this to be so exalted. And they were discussing among themselves who would speak. Vyasdev was there. Narada Muni was there. Parvat Muni, Radhanath Muni, Atri Muni, Vishwamitra Muni, Vashishta Muni. Each and every one of them powerful, historical, incredible, enlightened beings. Gautama Muni. So many others. Who is going to speak? And many of them were so old, they were from Ram Lila and before. Shishtamuni was Ram, the Guru, as was Vishwamitra. And then little 16-year-old Sukadeva Goswami comes into the forest. It's very interesting. But that's another story. Sukadeva Goswami, he was so detached from everything of this world. Although he was enlightened, he pretended to be a fool. He hardly spoke to anyone. He didn't wear clothes. So wherever he went, people ridiculed him. And sometimes even children, foolish children, would laugh at him, would throw things at him, would chastise him, would threaten him. He would just accept it very happily. And then he came by Krishna's will from his heart. He came to that place on the bank of the Ganga, and everyone stood up to receive him and offered him the Vyasa-san, the place to speak. In the beginning, in the first canto, second canto, we read how Parikshit Maharaj inquires from Sukadeva Goswami, what is the main, most important occupation for all living beings? There are so many many scriptures and so many spiritual teachers and so many religious forms. What is the essence? And what is the primary duty of a person who is about to die? Just outside this tent is Abundant Saint's presentation this year. What is it called? True Love. And when you go inside, I haven't seen the presentation, I just saw the props that they're using. And you will have a good experience that death could come to anyone at any moment. You'll see a man here in England, just like any other day, enjoying breakfast. And the car runs off the road and crashes through the house, into the kitchen, and kills them. Now we may say that's hard to say. The reality is, things like that happen thousands and thousands of times every day in this world. Padam yati padam nadesham. This is a world where there is danger at every step for everyone. Whether you're a simple farmer or an industrialist billionaire, whether you're a sadhu living in the forest, or whether you're a PhD professor at university, whether you're from the east or west, from any race, male, female, devotee, not devotee, the reality is the nature of this world is there is danger at every step. And knowing this is a great impetus to seriously take shelter of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada tells us that Parikshit Maharaj knew for sure that he had 7 days to live. 7 days isn't that much. Just think about what you did a week ago. It seems like a minute. That's all he had. But he considered it a blessing to utilize that 7 days for the highest purpose of life. Srila Prabhupada explains, none of us know for sure that we have 7 minutes to live. So it is important. In order to really access and experience Krishna in Krishna's name and Krishna Katha, we must take shelter. As we approach Krishna, Krishna reciprocates accordingly. If we hear about Krishna kind of in a sleepy way, God, I wish you could just do something else. And Krishna will minimally reveal himself to you. But if we're very, very serious, we take it as a topmost priority and urgency to hear this message, to take shelter of Krishna as he is coming in Krishna Katha, and Krishna will very quickly purify our hearts and reveal ourselves, reveal himself to us. When Parikshit Maharaj asked these questions, Sukadeva Goswami was very happy. He said, these questions are not only the highest subject matter, but they are for the ultimate benefit for all humanity. And he congratulated Parikshit Maharaj. He thanked him. Then he spoke 9 cantos, just to prepare for the ultimate the beginning, we find Parikshit Maharaj is specifically asking about Krishna's descent. Please tell me the original form of God. Previously, in the first canto of Bhagavatam, it is described all these different major incarnations of the Lord who appear within the world throughout history. Krishna's two avatars. Krishna is the original source, the personality of Godhead, from whom all other avatars are emanating, who possesses all six opulences of strength, beauty, knowledge, fame, wealth, and renunciation to its ultimate fullest degree. In other incarnations and avatars, although they are absolutely one and the same as Krishna, Krishna is only manifesting partial opulences. But when he comes in his original form, he reveals all of these opulences in their full, unlimited degrees. Parikshit Maharaj was so eager to hear. Please explain to me about Krishna's appearance in this world and his wonderful activities. Parikshit Maharaj had experience that Arjuna, Yudhishthira, they were my grandfathers on that great battlefield of Kurukshetra. Although there were such powerful warriors like Bhishma and Drona, they were like little fish in an ocean full of whales and sharks. But because they took shelter of Krishna, Krishna's grace, they overcame all obstacles. And my own mother, I was in her room when Ashwatthama sent that deadly Brahmastra weapon. Brahmastra weapon is a nuclear bomb and beyond. But it had such precision, it could hit its target and not harm anything else. So he sent this Brahmastra, thousands of times more powerful and destructive than the atom bomb of Hiroshima, and sent it right to the embryo in the womb of Uttara. Indra prayed for her child. And as the Brahmastra came into the womb, Parikshit, who was in the womb, saw it. And then he saw the beautiful form of Krishna appear and annihilate all the dangers of the Brahmastra. Please tell me about Krishna. I'm yearning to hear about Krishna. From your description so far, even though I have been for so many days not eating any food or drinking any water or getting any sleep, neither am I tired. And the nectar flowing from your mouth, like the ambrosial Ganga, is completely satisfying my heart. And I'm feeling no obstacle due to hunger or thirst. Swami, seeing Parikshit Maharaj's eagerness to hear, Logya, his greed to hear more and more about Krishna. Shukadeva Goswami explained how Parikshit's enthusiasm to hear increased his enthusiasm to speak. And again, Sukadeva Goswami ekata is that the person who speaks, the person who inquires, and all the people who happen to be around listening, everybody becomes purified. Everybody experiences Krishna. And then with great happiness, after invoking the blessings of his gurus, Shukadev Goswami began. Once, Mother Earth, she was in such desperation because there was so much demonic activities going on all around her. We understand that Mother Earth is booming. She's an expansion of the goddess fridge. Krishna's internal potency that manifests within this material world. Bhumi is the consort of Radhanath, an avatar of Lord Krishna. Bhumi Devi was in such a state because Kamsa and Salva and Jarasandha and Aga and Putana and all these very, very powerful mystic asuras were exploiting and plundering all of her resources for their own envious purposes and cruelly mistreating the common people. She came in the form of a cow before Lord Brahma. Krishna is especially very favorable to the cow. Krishna is favorable to everyone, ultimately. Krishna says, I am the seed-giving father and mother of all living beings. Everyone is Krishna's child. Mamayavam so jiva loke jiva bhutta sanatana. Every spirit soul, wherever there's life, there is the Atma. And every Atma is part and parcel of Krishna. So Mohan saw the meditation. The Gita Krishna says, I'm not envious of anyone. I'm equal to all. Because everyone is Krishna's devotee, ultimately. But due to our free will, we have this tendency to turn away from Krishna, to try to be the proprietor, the controller, and the enjoyer of the resources of material existence. And when we fall into that trap of Maya, or the illusory energy, then our tendency is to become overcome with lust, anger, envy, greed, arrogance, and illusion. Become polluted. But the cow is especially dear to Krishna because the cow provides milk and so many wonderful, wonderful objects that could be used in Krishna's devotional service. So Mother Earth appeared and was weeping and explained her plight to Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma, he went and got Lord Shiva and Indra and all of these other great devas, and they together went to the shore of the ocean of will, where Lord Vishnu resides within the universe. The Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. Or is it Kshirodakshayi? Is it Kshirodakshayi Vishnu? And they offer the Purusha Shruta prayers shared with the other demigods the message of the Lord. He said, even before you came, I already knew everything that was happening. And I've already decided to descend into the world. Now all of you demigods, along with your wives, the goddesses, take your birth in the Yadu, the Andaka, the Vishnu, the Ultra dynasties. And I will personally appear as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva in the Yadu dynasty. You go and prepare for my coming. After revealing this message, Brahma went back to his abode. Sometime later, Shukadev Goswami explains, Vasudeva, the son of Surasena. Surasena was the king of Mathura. He actually established Mathura as the capital of the Yadu dynasty. Vasudeva married Devaki, the daughter of Devaka. It was a beautiful marriage. Everyone in Mathura area was so happy. And then, when it was time, after the marriage was complete, for Vasudeva to take Devaki back to his home, he boarded his chariot. It was surrounded by about 100 other chariots. King Devaka, out of love for his daughter, he gave hundreds of elephants, thousands of horses, hundreds of chariots, hundreds of young ladies who were Devaki's dearest friends, all to go with her, so she wouldn't miss home. People were singing songs, playing instruments, showering flowers, dancing. Brahmins were chanting mantras and hymns. It was a jubilant time. Marriages were wonderful festivities. And Kamsa, the son of Ugrasena, the cousin brother of Devaki, was so taken by the whole experience, he wanted to make his sister so happy. So even though he was the prince, very, very powerful, he got on the chariot and took the reins. And just to make his sister happy, he agreed to take her home. What an honor this was. At least that's what everyone thought. As Kamsa was moving the chariot forward, his heart swelling with affection for his sister, an invisible voice came from the sky. Kamsa, you are a fool. The 8th child of Devaki will be the cause of your death. Kamsa let go of the reins of the horses. With his left hand, he grabbed the hair of Devaki and pulled her up. With his right hand, he drew his mighty sword, was about to sever her head. What a complete change from overwhelming affection to total envy and hatred and fear. This is an example of how material attachment can affect a person's heart. For there to be real love, unconditional love, it's important that there be true detachment from egoism and selfishness. Vairagya vidya nija bhakti yoga. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya made his beautiful prayer explaining that Lord Chaitanya came to teach pure love for Krishna by by teaching knowledge, detachment, and bhakti, the process of devotional service. What goes in the form of love in this world is so often karma, or selfish passion. But when that selfish passion somehow or other turns into something that we perceive against the interest of our attachments, it can easily turn into wrath. Kamsa is about to, in the most ghastly way, murder his own sister. Vasudeva, with folded hands, tried to come between them and speak nice philosophy to Kamsa. And there are so many pages in Srimad Bhagavatam of this philosophy. He was explaining to him the basic principles of spirituality. We're not this body. We are the eternal souls. We should not behave in such a way in this world that compromises the progress of the soul. After all, we may get some temporary safety or pleasure if we engage in sinful activities, but ultimately that sinful activities in the form of bad karma are going to come back and cause the greatest harm to us. We should do what's of the interest of the soul. That is dharma. Just like a little worm goes from leaf to leaf on a tree. So similarly, the soul goes from body to body to body to body. We shouldn't be so attached to the body and the things of the body. We should use the body for the purpose of the soul. He explains so many social, philosophical, logical reasons why this is a terrible thing to do. But Kamsa was being consumed by the flames of his envy, his fear, and his attachments. He was not moved by any of it. So Vasudeva began to think, somehow or other I have to stop this. So he said to Kamsa, you have no fear of your sister. It's the 8th child of your sister. I vow to you on this day that every child born of Devaki I will bring to you. And you can do anything you like with. Vasudeva had such a character that Kamsa totally believed him. Vasudeva, under no circumstance, would ever succumb to not living by truth. If he gives his word, that is fine. So Kamsa let him go. Vasudeva and Devaki. They went on their way. But Vasudeva didn't trust Kamsa. Because the Srimad Bhagavatam says it's very difficult to control someone who cannot control the mind or senses. And then Narada Muni appeared on the scene. So Prabhupada often quotes his verse, Vaishnavya Kriya Mudra Vikyena Bhujana. It's very difficult to understand the mind of a great Vaishnava. Narada Muni especially fits in this description at this time. Kamsa saw Narada Muni. Kamsa understood if you get the blessing of saints, you get power. So he offered Narada Muni a nice seat. He worshipped Narada Muni. He said, how can I serve you? And Narada Muni, he said, I just want to inform you something, Kamsa. Just recently, I was traveling around the universe, and I came to the Sumeru Parvat. And there I heard Brahma having a meeting with the Devas. Now please remember, Kamsa, the Devas are your enemies. And they were making plans to kill you and all of your asuras. In fact, the Devas, who are your enemies, were all going to take birth in the Yadu, Amdaka, Boja, and Vishnu dynasties. And Vishnu was going to descend as the child of Devaki. Let me tell you one more thing. In your previous birth, your name was Kalaneni. And at that time, Vishnu killed you. And now he's coming again to kill you. So I just wanted to tell you this. That, any child that's born here could be a demigod or Vishnu. And now I'll be on my way. When he left, Kamsa talked to some of his ministers and decided to imprison Vasudeva and Devaki. He put his brother and sister in shackles in a prison house. Actually, what happened, I have to go back a little. The first child was born, that's right, when they were free. And Vasudeva came with the first child, Kirtiman, and presented it to Kamsa. And Kamsa, he couldn't believe he's bringing his child to him. You're so honest, take him back. I'm only worried about the 8th child. That's when Narada came. So Kamsa completely changed, and he took that little child and killed it, and put Vasudeva and Devaki into the prison. 6 children were born, right in front of her eyes. Devaki saw Kamsa slaughter them. And then Sukadeva Swami tells Krishna sent Balaram, Shankarshan, into the womb of Devaki. His first original expansion. And then he told Yogamaya, this is in the spiritual world, that you should transfer my elder brother, from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. And then you should become the daughter of Yashoda, and I will enter into the womb of Devaki to be her son. So Yogamaya said, is a confirmation that she would do his will. And then she circumambulated the Lord and descended to the world to do this work. When Shankarshan, actually, Srila Prabhupada quotes the Hari Vamsa in this where Rohini, you see, she was a wife of Vasudeva. And for her protection, Vasudeva sent her from Mathura to Gokul to be protected by his cousin, brother, and dearmost friend, Nanda Maharaj. There she became the very deepest, best friend of Yashoda Mai, the wife of Nanda Maharaj. She was pregnant when she left for Gokul. during her 7th month of pregnancy, at midnight, she had a dream. In the dream, she had a miscarriage. She woke up, and she realized that it was true. She felt extremely sorrowful. Then Yogamaya spoke to her. Said, "This is all the will of our Lord. Actually, I'm transferring Shankarashani from the womb of Devaki into your womb." Rohini is the eternal mother of Balaram. And then the transfer was made. Meanwhile, in Mathura, everyone thought that Devaki had a miscarriage. And soon after, Krishna entered into the mind or the heart of Vasudeva. Vasudeva became transcendental, effulgent in the prison cell, and filled with bliss. Krishna was actually personally in his heart. And then Krishna transferred. The example is given just like when the sun is setting, it transfers its light to the moon. Krishna was transferred from the heart of Vasudeva to the mind and the heart of Devaki. Devaki became so filled with endless joy. She was so effulgent with spiritual energy. But nobody could appreciate it because she was in a dark prison cell. When Kamsa saw the effulgence and the blissfulness of Devaki, he realized that Vishnu, the child who is going to kill you, has now come. He kept Vasudeva and Devaki in such tight security. His only meditation was waiting for that child to be born so he would immediately kill it. Kamsa was overwhelmed with fear. He couldn't stop thinking of Krishna. Whether he was sitting on his throne, laying in his bed, walking, eating, his mind was plagued with fear. He was Krishna conscious, constantly thinking of Krishna. But Rupa Goswami tells us we should think of Krishna in a favorable way. That is devotional service. So in this way, Kamsa could not sleep. He had no peace of mind. He was just waiting and waiting. And then that most auspicious moment came. Janmastami. Before I describe Krishna's appearance, let me explain a little of why Narada Muni acted like he did. He wanted to activate Krishna's coming. And he also knew a secret nobody else knew. There's a great sage named Marichi. And he had 6 sons. And his 6 sons, they committed a serious Vaishnava aparad. They criticized Brahma because Brahma was acting strange by their perception. And by many others too, actually. And because of this, they had to come to the world to be born of demons. They were born as the 6 children of Kalaneni and the grandchildren of came and asked, what benedictions do you want? And they asked for the common benedictions that asuras ask for. That nobody can defeat me, nobody can kill me, that I will live and I will enjoy and I will conquer and I will be like a god. So Brahma gave him all the benedictions. But Hiranyakashipu was angry as fire on them. How dare you go to Brahma without my permission? He was such a controller mentality. He said, I curse you that your father today, Kalaneri, in the next birth, your father will kill you. Kalaneri became Kamsa. And the Satgarbhas, these 6 children, they represent the 6 anarthas within our heart that distract us away from our eternal natural condition of loving devotion to Krishna. Lust, anger, envy, arrogance, greed, and illusion. These are the 6 enemies within. The Srimad Bhagavatam explains that the only real enemies we have are these 6 enemies within our own minds. If we can conquer those, we're liberated. So these 6 children represents these 6 internal enemies within us. Devaki represents pure bhakti. And Kamsa represents fear of material existence. When a devotee like Devaki takes shelter of the Lord, understanding the dangers of material existence, that taking of shelter under those with that sense of urgency. Om Pavitra Pavitra Va. Krishna cleanses, removes the lust, anger, envy, arrogance, greed, and illusion. And then Baladev, the spiritual master, actually creates an environment in the heart by which we can directly, personally experience Krishna. Narayana understood that these Satgarbhas, they wanted to go back to their fathers. He was doing exactly what their eternal souls wanted. He was liberating them, showing the highest compassion to them, and accelerating Krishna's descent to entrap the hearts of the conditioned souls. It was on this day of Janmastami, at midnight, everything became auspicious. All the trees were blossoming with fruits and flowers of every variety. The breezes all over the universe were fragrant with the aromas. The temperature was just so nice everywhere. The rivers, the oceans, transparent, clean, blooming with flowers. The stars in the sky, they seemed to be like they were dancing, glittering, illuminating the heavens. And all the Brahmins and the devotees who were being severely persecuted by Kamsa felt such peace and such optimism in their hearts. came with 4 arms, holding the conch shell, the lotus flower, the club, and the Sudarshan disc. He had a wonderful complexion, like a dark monsoon cloud. His every limb was the essence of beauty. His eyes were like lotus flowers. His beautiful blackish hair was curling around his face. He wore the special jewel, the jewel of Vishnu. He had long garlands and beautiful golden, silver, and jewel ornamented ornaments around his body. He wore a cloth around his waist that was golden, like flashing lightning, and he illuminated the dark prison. Vasudeva and Devaki understood that the Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality of God, and the cause of all causes, the source of everything, had appeared as their son. And Vasudeva offered beautiful prayers of gratitude and devotion. And in Devaki's prayers, although she understood his supreme position, she felt herself to be his mother. And she had the worry and concern of a mother. That now you're appearing in this form, Kamsa will know for sure that you are Vishnu, and he may harm you. So please, make this form invisible. Appear like an ordinary child so we can hide you somewhere. Krishna spoke to him. He said, in your previous life, you were Vrishni and Sutapa. And you performed very, very long years of austerities. You went into the jungles and you were subjected to bitter cold, to burning heat, to winds, to rain. And you were fixed on your meditation and your sanctity. You were only eating the dry leaves that fell from trees. And when you were offered benediction, you wanted me to be your child. So I fulfilled that ambition. And in that very birth, I became your son, Prishnigarva. And then, in your next births, you became Aditi and Kashyapa. And I became your son, Upendra, because I was a dwarf. They called me Vamanadev. And now I am appearing again as your son. I will take the form of a little child. And on this very night, Vasudeva, you shall carry me across the Yamuna to Gokul and exchange me for the child born of Vishnu. And then right before their eyes, the beautiful, majestic form of Vishnu manifested the beautiful little baby form of Gopal. What a sacrifice of Vasudeva and Devaki. Just to facilitate Krishna's coming to this world, they endured years of living in a prison. Just to facilitate the 8th child appearing, they endured seeing 6 of their children killed mercilessly. And now the child had come. And within minutes, he was going to be taken somewhere else. Some severe Haritosha. The their devotion, their love was so pure. They only wanted to please Krishna. So Vasudeva, suddenly by the power of Yoga Maya, his shackles became unlocked. And the doors, all the doors of the prison house opened. All the guards and every single person in Mathura fell asleep. So Vasudeva picked up little baby Gopal. As Devaki was watching. And he went out of the prison. Through one guard station after another, there was no impediment. And then when he finally came to the outdoors, it was a cloudy midnight, and it was raining. But Ananta Shesha appeared over the head of Vasudeva to serve as an umbrella. And then he came to the river Yamuna, and because of the storm that night, the river Yamuna was swirling and rippling with a very fast current. But Yamuna Devi became very calm and offered a passageway for Vasudeva to cross over. He came to the maternity home of Yashoda. Yashoda Mai gave birth to Yogamaya, and she fell asleep. And she really, by Yogamaya's own potency, she didn't really remember what she did. And while she slept, Vasudeva placed Krishna at her bedside and took Yogamaya, the daughter, away. Now, in this particular passage of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada reveals to us the words of the Holy Scriptures, Jiva Goswami's Gopal Champu, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's discoveries of the great literatures. But actually, Krishna simultaneously took birth as the son of Nanda and Yashoda and the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. And the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, Krishna, merged into the form of Nanda and Yashoda's Krishna. And then he made the exchange. He crossed over the Yamuna again, came into the prison cell. All of a sudden, everything locked. He put his chains back on, and the little baby girl, Yogamaya, cried. She cried really loud, because all the guards woke up. They immediately told Kamsa, the child is born. Kamsa did not waste a moment. Kamsa took his weapons and ran to the place. He was there within seconds. David was holding his little beautiful daughter. She's pleading with Kamsa, please, let me have this one child. You have nothing to fear from a daughter. It's a girl. You've already killed 6 of my children. Just I'm your sister. Offer me this one gift. Let me have this daughter to love and to care for as a mother. She was weeping, crying, pleading. Kamsa was so hard-hearted and cruel that he forcibly grabbed the little baby out of the hands of the mother, took her by the feet, lifted her up, about to dash her to death on a rock. But as he lifted her up before crashing her down, the little baby slipped out of his hands and went into the sky and manifested the form of Durga. Riding on a lion, she had 8 arms holding various weapons. And she looked down at Kamsa, very angry, and said, Kamsa, you are a cruel fool. The child that was meant to kill you, the child that will kill you, is already born and is somewhere else. Now stop killing people and show mercy to your brother and sister. And she disappeared. That was quite sobering for Kamsa. He realized what he had been doing for the first time. And he actually fell at the feet of Vasudeva Devaki and begged forgiveness. But it wasn't an unconditional forgiveness. It was one of those philosophical forgivenesses. He said, I have acted very enviously, I have acted cruelly, I have acted selfishly, I have acted so egoistically, I've killed your own children. Please forgive me. But also please understand that everything's happening because of karma. And actions and reactions, and somehow or other, this is what you were meant to go through. I was the instrument. And Vasudeva and Devaki, even after all they had been through, practically 10 years of prison and slaughter of their children and being abused and harassed in so many ways, from their heart of hearts, they totally forgave Kamsa and spoke sweet words to him. They said, yes, what you're saying is true. We forgive you. And then he let them go. Kamsa went home, and the next morning, he called his ministers and told them everything that happened. And his ministers, they were afraid. Because their power was very much dependent on Kamsa. They told Kamsa, why are you afraid of all this? We know who you are. We know your powers. You have nothing to fear. The reality is that Vishnu is our enemy, and he is born somewhere. Therefore, we should kill every single child, male and female, that has been born in your kingdom for the last 10 days. And because religion is a weapon of Vishnu, and because the Brahmins and sacrifices and yajnas connect a person to Vishnu, we must persecute everything that's good. Anyone who engages in piety, anyone who engages in any type of religious activities, and all the cows, they must be killed, tortured, persecuted. Kamsa said, yes, that is my order. Meanwhile, woke up, and there was Krishna, her eternal son, laying next to him. She was overwhelmed. She couldn't even see through the tears of her eyes as she embraced her little baby with such love. Rohini sent to Brahmani to go inform Nanda Maharaj, because now was the morning. And early morning, Nanda Maharaj, Rupananda, Abhinanda, Sunanda, Nanda, all the brothers with the other cowherdmen were just milking the cows, which was a very auspicious time. And sent by Rohini, this one Brahmin lady, she came with the news. She was so happy. She couldn't even speak. She was just smiling and crying, speechless. And they could understand immediately that the only possibility is Yashoda has had a child. For so many years, Nanda and Yashoda had no children. It's their only child. And then when she spoke, they gave her thousands of cows in charity just for giving the good news. And Nanda Maharaj, he was trying to run to the place where Yashoda had the child, but he kept getting stunned and he couldn't really walk. And then he'd walk a few more steps and become stunned and stunned. The anticipation, the ecstasy was flooding his heart. And finally, when he came to the place, Krishna's appearance, Yashoda gave little baby Krishna to Rohini to bring for Nanda Maharaj to hold in his arms. And the news spread all over Gokul. The Brijavasis, they all came for the festival of the birth of Krishna, called Nandotsava, the festival of Nanda Maharaj. Everyone dressed in their best possible clothes to celebrate Krishna's appearance. The men were wearing special turbans and special multicolored cloths, whatever jewels they had, and the ladies were wearing the most beautiful garments, wonderful jewels. Even Rohini, because her husband was away, usually the tradition is you don't dress so nicely, but she dressed so nicely. Because certain situations are transcendental to traditions. It's the ultimate tradition to celebrate Krishna. And they all celebrated Krishna. He totally enchanted everyone's heart. Immediately, he became more dear to them than their own children or their own lives. They just wanted him to be happy. They didn't know he was God. They just thought he was the most beautiful, wonderful child who they loved more than anything. They were all great devotees of God, but they loved Krishna more than they loved God, their conception of God. They simply fell in love with this child. And they were blessing Krishna to have a long life. And Brahmins were chanting mantras, and they offered Krishna a little abhishek. They put turmeric, they put ghee. They bathed him with the Panchagavya, the Panchamrita. As they were having kirtans, some were playing musical instruments, horned instruments, stringed instruments, wind instruments. They were all dancing and dancing and dancing. And when you love Krishna, the natural expression of that love for Krishna is we love each other. They were very lovingly, gracefully throwing and smearing upon each other ghee and butter and condensed milk and different types of fresh herb powders as they were dancing, singing, and crying in ecstasy. Krishna had appeared as the son of Nanda and Yashoda. Meanwhile, Nanda Maharaj, he was so overcome with ecstasy. And in Bhakti, we express our ecstasy through seva. He wanted to show his gratitude in so many ways. He was giving millions of cows to Brahmins. And each cow had silk garments embroidered. And he put gold and jewels on the hooves and silver on the horns and the hooves of 7 gigantic mountains of grains, and he put silks and jewels decorating the grains. It was a festival of giving, not a festival of taking. On a spiritual level, we show our joy, we show our gratitude by giving. For Krishna's pleasure, we give to Krishna's devotees. They danced, they sang, and they all looked at beautiful Krishna and prayed for Krishna and blessed Krishna for the whole day. It was on that most joyous, auspicious day of the celebration of Krishna's appearance in 1896 that our beloved Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, appeared in the world. Nando's in Calcutta. Soon after, should I continue?
Haribol.
Soon after, Nanda Maharaj, he understood that it was time to pay taxes to Kamsa. And he also very much wanted to see his beloved friend Vasudeva, who was in Mathura. So, Nanda Maharaj left some of his leading Brajavasan to take care of Vrindavan, Gokul, and he left. And when he met Vasudeva, it was such a loving exchange. You see, the nature of people who love Krishna is they love each other. We can understand whatever deficiency we have in our love for Krishna, but by our inability to love each other. Nanda and Vasudeva, because of their love for Krishna, they had such deep spiritual love for each other. They were so concerned. Nanda Maharaj was so sad what Vasudeva had gone through. And Vasudeva knew everything about Krishna. He told Nanda Maharaj, you should go back really soon because we don't know what may happen. There may be danger. Nanda Maharaj didn't know why Vasudeva was saying that. And he left. Meanwhile, in Vrindavan, Gokul, the first of the Asuras that Kamsa sent appeared. Her name was Putana. She was, I believe it's pronounced occasionally rich. She had mystic powers. She could change her form to any size and any shape she wanted. And her special passion was to eat the flesh of newborn babies and drink their blood. She was a Rakshasi. And she had already been traveling all around the area. Thousands of children she was murdering. And then she came to the house of Nanda and Yashoda in Gokul. And she changed her form to become so beautiful, like a goddess of fortune. When she came into Nanda Maharaj's house, everyone was very much impressed, grateful. This must be some sort of goddess that has come to bless Krishna. So they let her pass right into the house. They let her pick up Krishna, sit down, put him in her lap, and then she went to give him the milk from her own breast. And everyone was watching, thinking she was going to bless Krishna. They didn't know that she had already smeared her breast with deadly poison. Krishna looked at her. He closed his eyes. When she put her breast in Krishna's mouth, Krishna sucked. At first, he sucked milk, because somehow or other she had some maternal affection for Krishna at that moment. And then he sucked out all the poison. And after sucking out all the poison, he kept sucking and sucking and sucking until he was sucking her very life. This was extremely painful for Putana. She was trying to somehow or other push Krishna off her, but she couldn't. So she ran outside into the pasture ground. And she manifested an enormous form. She was screaming out, "Child, leave me, leave me, leave me." And here she was, a massive form, and Krishna was just a little tiny thing on her, a little person on her, and she was with all of her strength, her mighty arms trying to take him off. And he was squeezing with his little tiny fingers. He was going, and it was causing her such unbearable pain. And with his little tiny feet, he was kicking her. And he kept sucking until he sucked her life out. And she fell to the ground, and she broke hundreds and hundreds of trees as she fell to the ground. Now, by Krishna's inconceivable potency, Putana ran into one of the favorite gardens of Kamsa, and that's what she destroyed when she fell down. And meanwhile, in Yashodamai and all of the gopas and gopis, they were frantic. Krishna was taken away. And they ran, and they climbed up Putana's body, and they saw little gopals, a helpless old baby crawling around and smiling. And they picked him up and brought him to Yashodamai, and she embraced him and had the Brahmins do all kinds of pujas to protect him. Arjuna represents the pseudo-guru who appears in a way that they're going to nourish us with transcendental knowledge. But because of misconception, envy, or speculation, that knowledge has that poison in it that can kill our propensity for love of Krishna. But when we take shelter of Krishna, he frees us from this obstacle path of pure love and devotion to Sri Vrindavan Dham. Meanwhile, Nanda Maharaj is returning home, and on the way he sees Putana. She was miles long. What is this? And the devotees told Nanda Maharaj, and Nanda Maharaj was thinking, Vasudeva knew, he understood, he warned me. So they chopped her body up, and they burned it. Body, when it was burning, it smelled like nectar. It had the aroma like camphor and sandalwood and aquawood. Because when Krishna touched her, he completely purified her. And not only did he completely purify her, but because she approached Krishna like a mother, even though she had evil propensities, when Krishna sucked out the poison, he sucked out all her evil propensities. And all that was left in Putana at the moment of death was her offering motherly love to Krishna. Putana immediately attained the liberation of being a mother of Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan, in the spiritual world. An assistant nurse for Krishna, where she would enjoy Krishna's loving, all attractive pastimes for the rest of eternity. Many years later, Uddhava, in separation from Krishna, he was remembering this master. Who else can I worship? Who else is so merciful and so compassionate that this Rakshasi, sister of Aga and Baka, who came to kill Krishna in the most merciless, cruel way? Krishna accepted her and gave her the ultimate perfection of being his eternal mother in this spiritual world. Krishna and Balaram were only about 15 days apart. Rohini and Yashoda were almost always together taking care of their little babies. And sometimes they'd be holding their little babies and they'd look at their faces, their hearts melting in ecstatic love. And they'd see little teeth growing. They'd cuddle those little teeth. They'd discuss with each other. This was all they talked about in Vrindavan. Can you imagine? Everybody. Little tooth is coming out of Krishna's mouth. A little tooth is being coming out. That was the news. It spread everywhere. Everyone was in ecstasy. They were making about it, talking about it. Any little thing connected to Krishna is all attractive to a devotee. When Krishna was just a few months old, he just started to slant his body, which means very soon he was about to begin to crawl. So Yashoda Maya and Nanda Maharaj had a beautiful festival to celebrate this, one of the samskaras. And as Yashoda Maya was greeting all the guests, and there was mantras being chanted and hymns, and there was yajnas, and there was kirtans, and there was songs and dancing, all to celebrate that Krishna is soon going to begin to crawl. Yashoda Mai saw that Krishna was very tired, so she put him in a little cot under a hand cart. And she went about greeting all the guests and everything else. But what she didn't know is another associate of Kamsa, who is a ghostly being, actually entered into that cart. And his purpose was to fall on Krishna and crush him to death. Gopal knew that. He called for his mother, but his mother wasn't there. So with his little tiny lotus foot, he kicked the wheel of the cart. The wheel broke off of the axle, the whole cart went crashing down, and all the pots and everything on the cart came tumbling down, and Shakatashura was liberated. Meanwhile, the people of Vrindavan heard this tumultuous sound, and they came running, and they're surrounded everywhere. There's these heavy metal pots, wood, axles, wheels, and in the middle of it was baby Krishna, so soft, appearing so helpless. How is it that he wasn't harmed? What happened? Some of the little children said to Nanda and Yashoda, "We saw Gopal cried for his mother didn't come, and he kicked, and the whole cart fell down." They were thinking, how is this possible? Children say anything. conceive Krishna as anything but their beautiful little baby. Sapatasura represents an obstacle to pure devotional service in Vrindavan. The obstacle of the tendency to keep the burden within our heart of our previous bad habits. The bad habits both earlier in this life as well as previous lives. Things that we should be letting go of for the purpose of focusing our full attention and attachment to Krishna. We cling to. Past habits are not easy to break. According to Swami today, by absorbing ourselves in Krishna's seva. Krishna tells in Gita, by constant practice and detachment, we can overcome the burden of all these bad habits in our mind. Krishna is not different than his name. When we really take shelter of Krishna and cry out his name, then Krishna, he will kick to pieces and liberate us from the big cartload and burden of bad habits that we leave stored in our minds. When Krishna was about a year old, Yashoda was carrying Krishna, and suddenly he felt heavy like a mountain. So she put him down to go around, to carry on with her, say, 2 others. And at that time, another one of the associates of Kamsa, Trinavarta, came in the form of but this was not just an ordinary one. He was a mystic, powerful Asura Rakshasa. Greater than a hurricane, a tornado, a cyclone, he came into Vrindavan. And he was making everything start flying apart. One couldn't even see their hand in front of their face. There was so much dust. And Gopal was all alone. Trinavarta picked up Gopal and went higher and higher and higher into the sky with the intention of killing him. And Gopal was so happy. He was getting a ride. You know, sometimes little children, when they're just 1 year old, you throw them up in the air and they like this. I've never done it because I'm afraid I'm going to drop them or something. Parents are quite fearless. I've seen them take their little babies and troop into things and they catch them. But when I see that, I think, such faith. When you're thrown up in the sky like that, when you're a little baby and you're totally helpless, you have to have complete faith that your father or mother's going to catch you. Otherwise, it's such a natural skill. Otherwise, if you don't have total faith that your mother's going to catch you, you're going to really be hurt. You don't see little babies when they're thrown in the air, they say, "You're going to catch me." Just smiling and laughing. It's that simple faith of a baby for a mother. That's the type of faith we should have in Krishna in every situation. And that's the type of faith we should chant his names. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So the babies are to be thrown in the sky. So Trinavarta was taking Krishna so high in the sky. And Krishna was so happy. It's like he was getting a ride, like a roller coaster. He was going higher and higher. He went up to the heavenly planets. Janmastami was his intent was to kill Krishna. Krishna understood this. So somehow or other, it's interesting, isn't it? Do you know why Krishna became so heavy to Yashoda? Our acharyas explain. He knew Janmastami was good. And he didn't want Yashoda Mai to get involved in this leela because she may get hurt. So he became heavy so that Yashoda Mai would put him down, and he knew she had to go and take care of all the guests so that he would be all alone with Janmastami. So he became heavy with his mother, and he became light as a feather for Janmastami to take him higher, 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 higher. And then he became heavy like a mountain. Janmastami could no longer tolerate. He was about to fall, and he was with all of his might trying to rip Krishna away from him and throw him way, 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 way down into the ground. But Krishna, his little tiny, soft, lotus-like arm went around Janmastami's neck, and he squeezed. Janmastami was choking. His gigantic hands, he was in a form of a whirlwind. He was trying to push little Gopal off, and Gopal was smiling, squeezing his neck until Janmastami's eyes were popping out. He was suffocating to death, and he fell to the ground right into a big rock, and his limbs were all dislocated. Liberated. And the Gopal was crawling around, smiling, what happened? There's the gopis, they ran and they picked up the Gopal. Poor Yashoda Mai, when she couldn't find Krishna, everything was total dust, and she couldn't find Krishna anywhere. And finally, when the dust cleared, he was nowhere to be seen. She had fainted like a cow and just lost her calf. This is the analogy that is so often given, and it's so important. The pain when a cow loses her calf is so deep. If any of you have seen taking care of cows, you know what that is. If a cow sees her little calf die, the cow licks and licks and licks and cries and moves with such melancholy sorrow. Because the love between the cow and the calf may not be sophisticated like ours. It may not be intellectual, but it's real. And to honor and respect the sentient, loving nature of others is the symptom of humanity. And when that goes to the depths of the soul, the Atma, it's the passion of Vaishnava. Yashoda Mai, Imbralamba, when Krishna was separated, she was wild with helpless agony. And when Krishna was back with her, Sambhoga, her heart was celebrating and rejoicing. And when Krishna would suck her milk, she knew Krishna's safe. Trinavarta represents the obstacle of pure bhakti in Vrindavan, the obstacle of false pride due to having mundane scholarship. The problem is not the scholarship. The problem is the tendency of being proud. You see, Janmastami was thinking he was higher than everybody. it's making us proud, if it's making us think that I'm better than others, if it's making us think I'm very high, others are low, then we've actually missed the whole point of what it's for. True knowledge makes us humble, respectful. Lord Chaitanya said like this. When the Digvijay Pandit was coming to Navadvip, he was the greatest scholar on the entire planet Earth. He was undefeated in debate. Goddess Saraswati empowered him in such a way that every time he spoke, she incarnated on his tongue. Can you imagine such infallible knowledge he had? At least he thought. And he became so proud. He was going around defeating everybody, making them bow down to him and write their name on his certificate. He came into Navadvip on a palanquin, Brahmins chanting his glories. And Nimai's little students on the back of the Ganga told him about that. Nimai, he became very brave. He said, a person who actually has understood knowledge, they are like a tree with very, very full, ripe fruits. Because of the weight of the fruits, those trees bow down to everyone. But a tree without such fruits stands very erect, thinking I'm higher than everyone, and bows to no one. A person who actually has knowledge becomes humble and respectful. Amani Namanadeva, to offer all respect to others and not expect it from oneself. That is knowledge. And Lord Nimai said to his friends that Krishna does not tolerate false pride for very long. Soon he will crush them. Demon of trinality within our hearts. One day, Vasudeva sent Gargamuni, his priest, to come to perform the name-giving ceremony for Krishna. When he came down to our office, so happy to see him. He said, you Brahmins, you are so kind. In the name of going house to house to beg, you're actually coming to give fallen householders like us an association to the Brahmas. Nanda Maharaj is the king of the Brajavasis. He's the father of Krishna. And still such humility he has. And he asked Gargamuni, will you do, now that you're here, will you do the name-giving ceremony, the sanskara for the welfare of Krishna Bhagavan? Gargamuni said, I am the priest of the Yadus. Vasudeva sent me. If you perform the samskara in a public way, then Kamsa is going to hear about it, and he's going to very, very much attack. So Nanda Maharaj said, but I want our children to be blessed by you. Let's do it secretly in the cowshed. So they went. And Gargamuni, he said, because this child has united the two dynasties of the Brajavasis and the Yadus, the Krishnas, his name will be Shankarsha. And because he will take great happiness in manifesting supernatural, transcendental strength, his in every yuga to establish the transcendental process of liberation for that age. He's come in a white color, a red color, a golden color, and now he has come in a beautiful blackish form. Shama Sangha. And this child, he comes again and again to give relief to his devotees and establish the highest principles of religion. This child will be the greatest source of happiness, life, and love to all the inhabitants of Vrindavan. But please, take very good care of him and watch for him. This child of yours is as good as Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And with these words of great ecstasy, Gargamuni revealed Krishna's true identity and departed. Soon after this, Krishna, Balaram, began to crawl. How beautiful is the crawl? Balaram, whose complexion is white like a spring cloud, and Krishna, whose complexion is dark like a monsoon cloud, crawling, 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 and as they crawl, they love to get in trouble. There are many stories. Srimad Bhagavatam tells one time when they were crawling, there were some little calves sleeping. And Krishna and Balaram, each of them respectively, grabbed and pulled the tail of a calf. They got scared. They got up and started to run, and the children were so scared that they held on very tightly, and the calf was running around. These little Krishna and Balaram, their soft bodies were being dragged through the mud and the urine and the cow dung of Vrindavan, and all the gopis were watching and laughing and laughing and clapping their hands. Sometimes Krishna and Balaram would be crawling, and they wanted their mothers, and they recognized their mothers because their mothers wore ankle bells, so they heard ankle bells. These were crawling to get to their mothers, crawling, and finally they got to the source of the sound of the ankle bells, and they looked up, and it was other gopis. So they got afraid, and they were crying and running away, and then Mother Yashoda and Mother Rohini picked them up. After some time, they learned how to walk. And as soon as they started walking, their pastimes of stealing butter began. This gave so much happiness to all the residents of Vrindavan. Sometimes the gopis would come to complain to Yashoda that your son, you know how naughty he is. Krishna Balaram, with their friends, they go out early in the morning just to look for places to steal butter, yogurt, ghee. And before we even get up in the morning, they untie the calves, and the calves come to drink the milk of the mothers. And at the same time, when we go out to try to deal with it, they run into our houses, and they break our butter pots, and they eat it. And at other times, we keep our butter tied to the ceiling with ropes. And they'll come in our house and get on each other's shoulders in order to reach it. And if they still can't reach it, Krishna has a special So Yashoda said, then I'll stop putting jewels on it. They said, no, don't do that, because it seems like they have an effulgence anyway. They light up everything. And sometimes we hide the butter so well that they can't find it. And they go into our temple and pass urine on the floor. And sometimes they will come to our sleeping babies and put water in their ears and make them cry if they can't find our butter. This is what your children are doing all the time. And when we catch them, when our husband catches them and say, you are a thief, Gopal will look at him and put his fists on his waist and say, no, you are a thief. And other times we catch them, they say, no, we're not stealing your butter, we're not stealing. So we show him why we don't know how he's going to get healthy, so he's doing these things. And now he's just sitting there, he's looking so completely peaceful and innocent, but we know deep down in his mind, he's thinking of how to get our butter. Well, we show that sometimes say, oh, then I will somehow keep him at home. No, keep him at home. The reality is, the gopis would make their butter for one purpose. They would put such intense love and devotion into making their butter with the hope that it would be so nice that Krishna would come to steal it. Sometimes people say, why did Krishna steal? Srila Prabhupada explained to us, Krishna is the proprietor of everything that exists. He's not stealing. Everything's already his. He's just coming to accept the love of his devotees. And when our heart becomes soft like butter, then Krishna will steal our hearts. That is the meaning of Hari. One steals the hearts of the devotees. Gopal, Ananda Vrindavan Champu tells some beautiful stories of Krishna's butter stealing. Once, the wife of one of Nanda Maharaj's brothers, Krishna's aunt, caught Krishna stealing butter in her house, Makanchura. And she actually held him with her hand. Said, you're always saying that you don't steal butter. Now I've caught you red-handed and I'm going to bring you to Yashoda, your mother. And little Gopal, tiny child, he looked up at her and smiled. And then he became very serious. He said, I warn you, don't do that. She said, I'm going to do it. She brought Krishna right before Yashoda. She was holding Krishna's hand. She said, Yashoda, you see, I caught him. There's butter on his face. He's always denying it. He has stolen butter. Yashoda and I looked at her and said, what are you talking about? I said, your son, I have him right here. Look, there's butter. I caught him. Yashoda and I said, I don't understand. And she looked down at this gopi, and she saw in her hand, it wasn't Krishna. It was her own son. She was very bewildered, confused. What is this? And Yashoda and I said, I think you should go home. So she was walking home, and she's going down the road in Gokul. And all of a sudden, she's looking and she's seeing her own child. In her perplexed state, little Gopal, she heard Gopal's voice. And she looked down and there was Gopal. in her hand. And Gopal smiled at her. And he said, I warned you. And if you do it again, next time, I will take the form of your husband. One time, Krishna was next to this wonderful jeweled pillar in the house of Radha. And there was some butter there. And he was eating it, and he saw his reflection. And he said to the reflection of himself, he said, don't tell Yashoda what I'm doing. Don't tell my mother that you saw me doing this. If you tell, then I'm going to get you in trouble. I'm going to say it's you who did it. And meanwhile, Mother Yashoda was watching all this as Krishna was chastising his reflection. And then Yashoda came, and she saw Krishna covered with butter on his hands and butter on his feet and butter on his face. And Krishna said, Mother, I didn't steal it. He stole it. And pointed to his reflection. He stole it. I told him that this is immoral, this is improper, you should not steal butter. But he did it anyway, and he threw it on me. Smiled and motherly love. On another day, Yashoda came into the room and Krishna's hand was in the butter pot. Krishna said, Mother, I'm not stealing butter. She said, what are you doing? She said, the jewels that you gave me have rubies on them. They're so hot, they're like fire. I can't tolerate it, so I'm sticking my hand in the butter just to relieve me from the heat. And Yashoda picked up Krishna, took off the jewel bracelets, and kissed Krishna's hands and said, okay, I'm going to put them on you. One day, because you heard the story of how the gopis would complain about Krishna to Yashoda. Well, one day Krishna's gopa friends came to complain about Krishna. Balaram and the other gopas told Yashoda that in a secluded place on the bank of the Yamuna River, we saw Krishna eating dirt. Now, if you are mothers and you have a little child, what would you think if your child is eating dirt? Multiply that by tens and millions, and that's what Yashoda was thinking. Her love for Krishna is unlimited. Gopal, why have you eaten dirt? Gopal said, I did not eat dirt. She said, but everybody's complaining, even Balaram. Balaram's your best friend. He's always protecting you. He steals butter with you and everything. Even he's saying you stole and you ate dirt. Gopal said, because we played the game and they lost the game, now they're trying to get me in trouble. If you don't believe me, look in my mouth. And she said, open your mouth. Let me look inside. Now the reality was, Gopal did eat dirt. It was in his mouth. So what to do? So Krishna, in order so she wouldn't see the dirt, he distracted her attention in an incredible way. He opened his mouth. It was just this big. And when she looked inside, she saw the entire universe. Oceans, mountains, planets, demigods, all species of all living entities, forests and trees. The incredible thing is Gopal's mouth didn't grow. But she saw the entire universal form within his. She looked in his mouth and saw it within his belly. How is this possible? Achintya Shakti. Krishna is inconceivable potencies. Nothing is inside of him, nothing is outside of him. Everything is. He's inside and outside of everything. Krishna is the supreme cause of all causes. So she saw within his little mouth the entire universe. And as a mother, this very much confused her. With folded hands, she began to offer prayers to Lord Narayana. That, my dear Lord, in illusion, I'm thinking that Krishna's my son, and Nanda Maharaj is my husband, and all the Brajavasis are my subjects, and all the land of Vrindavan is my kingdom. But by your inconceivable potency, Lord Narayana, everything is yours. As she was thinking like this, Krishna was not so happy because her motherly love was being affected by the opulences, the majesty, the greatness of the Lord. So by his internal potency, he just smiled upon her, and she completely forgot everything she just like you forget a dream. And she lifted little Gopal and embraced him and fed Gopal her milk. And through the whole process, she forgot everything about the accusations of Krishna eating to her. And she began to think in her mind. When she was seeing that universe within Gopal's form, she was thinking, what is this? Am I asleep? Am I dreaming? I can't be dreaming because my eyes are open. Am I in illusion? I'm not in illusion because I'm quite normal. I'm doing all my household activities quite normally. Is it that my child may be what people are saying he is? Gargamuni said he's as good as Narayan. And he's already performed such incredible feats of killing Putana, Chunavarta, Sakatas. She didn't even realize he killed her. He's always doing incredible things, and things are happening around him. Could he be God? Impossible. Could he be a great saint or rishi? She was thinking, I know who Krishna is, and he knows who I am. When Krishna's hungry, he cries and cries and cries until I feed him. And when Krishna's afraid, when he hears thunder, he runs to me. And unless I embrace him and comfort him and sing songs to him, he cannot be pacified. So let Gargamuni or anybody think whatever they want about my son. But I know who he is. He is just my son. And that's all. And Gopal knows that. And I know that. And that's sufficient to be truth. That satisfies all of us. Then Sukadeva Goswami speaks a beautiful verse. He says, that one supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, whom Sankhya philosophy worships as Yajna-Purusha. The four Vedas worship. The yogis as Paramatma. The Upanishads as Brahman. That same one absolute truth has become the helpless, little, simple, loving child of Yashoda. One day Yashoda Mai, after hearing the story, Parikshit asks Shukadeva Goswami, how is it possible possible that Nanda and Yashoda could have such an intimate, loving relationship with Krishna in this way, that he's totally conquered by their love. And he explains how in their previous lifetimes they were Drona and Dara, and they performed great tapasya, or austerities. And when Brahma gave them any benediction, he said, let us be in this earth to be the mother and father of Krishna. So that Krishna will perform such beautiful, ecstatic, loving pastimes that he will enchant the hearts of all the world. One day, actually it's time for the Abhishek. So I should end here. One day, on the day of Diwali, Yashoda Mai, she was thinking, my Gopal, he doesn't like the butter we have at home. That's why he goes to everybody else's house to steal it. I will make the butter myself today. And she made such a plan to satisfy Gopal. She had, out of the 900,000 cows of Nanda Maharaj, she chose the 108 best ones. And of the 108 best ones, she chose the 8 best ones. And of the 8 best ones, she chose the best of all the cows. And she would feed these cows grass that she grew with her own hands. The finest, most luscious grass. She watered the grass not with water, but with the milk and the ghee and the butter of the 8 best, the 100 best cows. So this this grass, its texture was so soft. Its fragrance was like ambrosial lotus flowers. And its taste was absolutely intoxicating. And it would create from the best of the cows the best possible milk. And she would personally milk that cow. She'd personally make that milk into yogurt. And then she would, with her own hand that morning, she was churning the yogurt to make it into butter. It was early. Gopal was sleeping. Yashoda was singing beautiful pastimes of Krishna as she was churning, and her bangles were like the kartals, keeping rhythm to her singing. And tears of affection were filling her eyes, and as she was remembering her beautiful little Gopal, uncontrollably milk began to come from her breast. And when the milk started coming, Krishna, who was sleeping in a bed, woke up hungry to drink that milk. So he came running to Yashoda, and with one hand he took the stick, the rod for churning, and with the other hand he climbed up onto her lap and said, he didn't say it, but what he was indicating, now your only business is to give me your milk. I looked at his beautiful moonlight face, that face of Gopal, like the full moon, his nose like a sesame flower, his lips like the fresh ripe bimba fruit, his eyes like fully blossoming lotus petals, his hair curling like beautiful crow's feathers of silk around his face. As she looked into his face, her heart melted with Vatsalya Rasa. pure soul for the absolute, supreme soul. Suddenly, in the middle of this intense loving exchange, the milk on the stove, which was that ashwagandha, it was the milk from those cow, from that one cow that Yashodamai would milk. It was flowing over due to a fire underneath. So Yashodamai, knowing that that milk was for Krishna, it was very, very special, the rarest of all milk. She put Krishna down to run to take this pot off the stove. But while she was away, Gopal wanted to teach her a lesson. You should not make anything a priority over giving me your milk. So he took a stone, which was used for grinding spices, and broke the butter pot, started eating it, looking all directions. And then he went into another room, and he saw some more butter hanging from the ceiling by ropes. So he climbed up a grinding board, wooden grinding board, meant to dry the spices, and Gopal began to eat that butter. And they called monkeys. So monkeys, very enthusiastically, they came. Krishna was feeding butter to each monkey. He's taking some and feeding. It's described by our acharyas. Krishna was thinking that in my past life was wrong. I was living in the forest and I had nothing. And the monkeys helped me. They found Sita. They built a bridge across the Indian Ocean. They fought a whole war against Ravana just so that I could get Sita back. And I had nothing to give them in return. Now let me give them this butter. So all the monkeys were happily eating butter. She came and saw. Krishna's not there. The pot is broken. She looked and saw little butter footprints on the floor. She traced them, followed them. They led into a room in a courtyard. Gopal was looking this way and that way in fear of his mother, feeding the monkeys the butter from the sea. She had a little stick. She didn't hit Krishna with the stick, but she just showed him the stick to try to get him to behave properly. As she was coming closer from behind, the monkeys saw her coming and realized that she was coming, and they all started jumping in all directions and escaping. Krishna, where was going? And she looked around, and he saw Yashodamai coming with the stick. He jumped off the grinding board, ran away. Yashodamai ran after him. Krishna ran faster. She ran faster. He was running. She was running. Finally, Yashodamai got Gopal. How is it? Krishna is faster than the speed of wind, faster than the speed of mind. How is it that he could be caught by his mother? This is the power of love. And Krishna, to show the intimacy between he and his devotee, Yashodamai, he began to tremble. In the Damodar-astaka we sing every day during the month of Kartik. Satyavat Muni explains this beautiful scene. Tears are coming from Krishna's eyes, tears of fear. And they're mixing with the kajal, with the black ointment around, and it's making black streaks that cover his body. And his lips are trembling. And his limbs are shaking. And he's saying to Yashoda Mai, please, put down the stick, put down the stick. I promise I won't do it again. Yashoda Mai throws the stick away. She said, naughty Krishna, you're just like a monkey. The way you jump around and get in so much trouble. Silk rope that's used to tie calves. And because she had so many duties to perform, she didn't want Krishna to get hurt. So she went to tie him to the grinding wheel. And when she placed the rope around his waist, the rope was exactly 2 fingers too short. So she got more rope and tied it to the original rope around his waist. It was still 2 fingers too short. She tied more rope and more rope and more rope, and however, the rope was growing, and Krishna's waist remained exactly the same. It was like this. And there were meters, and more meters of ropes, and it was still exactly 2 fingers. The width of 2 fingers too short. Finally, other gopis, they heard about this, and they all came, dozens of gopis, with all the ropes of their house to Yashoda Mai's house. And they were just supplying Yashoda Mai one rope after another. The rope was becoming kilometers long. And she put it around Gopal's waist, which was the same size. And was still the width of 2 fingers too short. Soon Yashoda Mai, the flowers were coming off of her hair. She was perspiring. Her sari was becoming loose. And some of the gopis said, don't you see, Yashoda Mai? It's not destiny for Krishna to be tied up to you. And Yashoda Mai, she said, I have to tie him up. Otherwise, he might get hurt when I'm doing my chores. And besides that, I must see how many ropes it takes to bind my little Gopal. And ultimately, just to show the world that the all-powerful, supreme Lord of all of creation is moved by the love of his devotee, Krishna agreed to be tied up by Yashoda Mai. There he was, bound by the rope of the love of Yashoda. This is the power of bhakti. In the intimacy of love, Krishna is conquered by the love of the devotee. And the devotee is conquered by the love of Krishna. Queen Kunti, in her prayer, she was remembering this. How is it, my Lord, that although you are feared by fear personified, you are afraid of Mother Yashoda? She's not a kshatriya. She's not a warrior. She's just a simple, lovely mother. Love. Yes? It is this benediction that Srila Prabhupada has come to give us. The Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called the Prema Dhana, the treasure of spiritual love. The Purushartha Siddhavana, the crest jewel of all goals of life. The treasure of that love of God is within the heart of all of us. And the key to open the treasure chest of the heart to experience that love is the association with devotees. The opportunity to enthusiastically teachings of Krishna, and to sincere, with devotion and love, to chant his holy names.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
When we chant with feeling and devotion, as Prabhupada and our acharyas teach us, Krishna reveals himself.